50 years ago, yes, 50 years ago, Walt Disney released a movie which cost over $6 million to make and combined live action and animation, featuring David Tomlinson and Angela Lansbury. Last month saw the world premiere of the stage adaptation of Bedknobs and Broomsticks at Newcastle's Theatre Royal. The show is on the road until next May, and I'm really excited to be seeing it at the Milton Keynes Theatre on the 15th of September. Charles Brunton is playing Amelius Brown, and Dianne Pilkington is the apprentice witch, Miss I can never get her name right, Eglantine Price. And I'm delighted to welcome Dianne as this week's first guest on Backstage. Did I get her name right?
Eglantine.
Eglantine.
Yeah. It's exactly right. It's actually, I believe it's the Briar Rose, Eglantine Rose.
Fabulous, fabulous. How are you?
I'm really good. We've just finished our second venue, which is Canterbury, and shortly off the South End, and like you say, coming to Milton Keynes.
I know, we're all very excited around here.
I'm excited. This is near where I live, so all my son's school friends will come and see it in Milton Keynes. It's really exciting to me.
Oh, that's fabulous. And it means you get to spend a week in your own bed.
I do, which is never a bad thing in the middle of a tour, is it?
Absolutely not. Listen, Dianne, I was looking through my emails and I got the press release that said Bedknobs and Broomsticks was coming to life on stage just before Christmas last year. We're in September, for heaven's sake. It's ridiculous. When did you know you were playing Miss Price?
I didn't know until April this year, but we started the initial sort of audition rounds before Christmas last year. Yeah, we're always the last ones to fall in place. There's a lot involved in putting on a musical of this size, and when they finally got everything set up, all the theatres, all of that kind of stuff, everything's ready to go, then they start the casting process, because obviously, you know, our actors' lives change very quickly as well. So someone who might have been free at the end of last year may not have been free this year. Having said that, we haven't just had the most horrific pandemic, so pretty much everyone's free.
I was going to say, it must have, for some ways, the producers must have rubbed their hands with glee and think, we can probably get whoever we want because no one's been able to work.
That's a nice thought, isn't it? That's a nice thought. I mean, I do think, yes, it was. It's not been a pleasant time for anybody. We've all gone through something, whether that's been lack of work or having to work from home or homeschooling or all of these things. And you know, the health worries and all that kind of thing. So I think, yes, for theatre people, it was a very real worry that I think at one point we just thought theatre would never happen again. So I'm very delighted to say that it is.
Oh, well, I can say it's on its feet, and certainly the shows that I've seen over the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks have been absolutely fantastic. I'm sure, Dianne, you were the top of the producer's wish list for Bedknobs and Broomsticks. But how was the audition process? How many did you have to go through?
Do you know, it was actually really pleasant and really grown up. And I say that in the nicest possible way. Sometimes you can go back for rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds and be guessing what people want from you. And what was really apparent from the very beginning is that the directors and the writers were very, very keen on collaborating with people. And this has been the same throughout the whole process, throughout the rehearsal process. And we had a really, really grown-up Zoom call where we discussed it, and you'd be surprised how often that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So it was really, really lovely, and you get an idea of what they're looking for, and they get an idea of who you are and what you might bring to it. So it was really not very painful. It was a really lovely, joyful audition process, and we had one of my favourite things, we had an hour and a half physical movement call, kind of to check if you're up to it, and also to see how willing you were to get inventive, you know, with puppetry and things like that. So it was really, really fun, and they're just gorgeous people. Yeah, I think I had about 3. It was lovely.
Well, it must. If you're kind of afforded that artistic freedom, it must make the job even more desirable for you.
It's really, really brilliant. Exactly. I mean, creating something new is obviously, it's so much fun. It's really, really fun. Creating something new with people who are confident enough in themselves to want to discuss it with everybody in the room. And I mean everybody in the room, throwing ideas. And it's just such a brilliant, brilliant creative process. Yeah, made it hugely fun. And I think that comes across in the show. Everyone is so involved, and it's wonderful.
It's my childhood for me. I can remember going, I can't remember who took me, but I remember being taken to the cinema to see Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and I was kind of blown away. That said, when I knew I was talking to you, I did watch it again. I have to say, it's a very clever movie of its time, but obviously CGI nowadays does make it look a little bit ropey with some of the animated effects that they've got on screen.
It's funny, isn't it? We rewatched it, obviously. I mean, the stage show's quite different and quite similar, is the best that I can say. Because, obviously, we want to stay faithful to movies that people love, like yourself and myself, because I grew up and I watched that movie as a kid. But you go back and look at it now, and yes, obviously, like everything that was made at a certain time, we're used to, we're spoiled now, we're used to not having to make allowances in our brains. That said, my 8-year-old watched it with me and absolutely loved it. He also loved the stage show. We've done some reworking. The script and the new music are fantastic, and Brian and Neil have done an amazing job of, without being rude to the film, because I love it, of maybe correcting a few things that might have been difficult to bring into modern day, and wouldn't have necessarily been accepted by modern audiences because our tastes have become very sophisticated.
Yeah, this is true. She's a very straight-laced character, really, in the movie, isn't she?
Again, so the amazing Angela Lansbury, who I'm a huge fan of, and always have been.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan. I mean, the first mask I bought in the pandemic, way before I even knew about Bedknobs and Broomsticks, was actually a Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote mask. I adore Angela Lansbury and obviously adore her in the film. We're very, very different as performers, and the only thing that we are is kind of the right age to play Eglantine Price when we played it. And so because our script is slightly different, and because I am slightly different, I'm not copying Angela Lansbury, because what's the point? She's incredible. She's her own thing. You cannot recreate Angela Lansbury in anything. She is who she is. So I've tried to bring my own to it. Yes, she's fairly prim and fairly straight-laced. But, I like to think we've got the most fantastic costumes by Gabriella Slade, which are really witchy and very stylish. So there's a stylishness to my Eglantine, I think. And we've tried to bring in some of the real darkness of the books as well. The original books were far darker. They always are, aren't they?
Yes, Disney doesn't really do dark, does it?
Well, you say that, but they deal a lot with loss and trauma. Most Disney films start with the death of a parent, or the loss of a parent, or a child being lost somewhere. So it is classic Disney in that sense. But yes, especially at the time, I think people assumed that children didn't want to. In fact, I think I saw this quoted in an article. Children didn't want too much scary stuff. And I think that children do like to be a little bit scared.
I think the children do. I think it's the adults that don't like being scared.
That's what it is. If the adults can't take it,
exactly. I have to reach for my blood pressure medication and make sure it's still working. You mentioned...
it's not terrifying, but we've explored the dark things.
You mentioned costumes. There's something very romantic about the sort of Second World War and the 1940s outfits.
Oh, isn't it? I mean, I love the style. I love the style.
That's it. It's the style, isn't it? That's what really identifies it.
Beautifully cut, and the ladies would have a very, very coiffeur's hair, and it is definitely a very stylish period. And what's interesting is it came out of a time of massive austerity. So all of a sudden, you couldn't have quite so much volume in your skirt because there was a war on, and so skirts became slightly more A-line rather than full, and it's quite interesting what comes out of that kind of austerity.
How has the reaction been with 2 venues down?
Brilliant. Oh my goodness. It's always, when you put your heart and soul into things, and we all have, to a person, it gets terrifying when you start to think about putting it in front of an audience because you want them to love your baby as much as you do. And I've never seen a bunch of people be so committed and so involved. So it's terrifying putting it out there. And I think it was the first time I flew on the Broom, I was like, okay, we're fine. We're okay here. Because the magic that they've created, Jamie Harrison is involved, obviously, from Harry Potter, and Chris Fisher. There's many different types of magic. It's a multi-level magic going on. We've got the theatrical magic, which you can see, and good old-fashioned theatrical magic. And then you've got conjuring magic, which is Amelia's Brown, and I've had to learn a bit as well, which was so exciting. And also the esoterical magic of Eglantine Pies, which you can't see. And you can hear gasps from the audience. It's fabulous.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's always
really lovely.
Nice to...
And the kids, their reaction is just wonderful. And I'm actually really surprised. I was bracing myself for some of the quieter scenes to be rather difficult to concentrate because obviously we do have a younger audience and they tend to be more vocal. And actually, there's been a few times you can't hear a pin drop. It's great. And that's when you know you're onto something good, because if children can sit and not make a noise for a scene that's really, really quiet and quite wordy, you just think, okay, we're telling the story properly. This is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am very, very excited. I shall be there in Milton Keynes in a couple of weeks' time. Look, while I've got you on the phone, I looked down your list of theatrical credits. This is crazy. You can't possibly still be only 27 years old and have done absolutely everything that you've done, starting it with Les Miserables. But I mean, Beautiful Game, Taboo, Beauty and the Beast, I loved the Far Pavilions.
Did you really?
I absolutely adored the Far Pavilions.
I adored the Far Pavilions, the Shaftesbury.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a bit of a cursed theatre, sadly.
We broke a coconut on the stage. My late beautiful friend Sophia Hark was in that film. In that goodness me, I'm tired. She did that show with me, one of my best friends, and she decided to bless the theatre by breaking a coconut. I'm not sure it's actually worked, but we will, time will tell.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened if she hadn't broken the coconut? She was fairly witchy. But yes, the Far Pavilions was just, it was just such a glorious, epic piece. Yeah, I've had some lovely jobs, I can't lie. I've been very, very fortunate to work in all these shows, and I've played plenty of witches.
Oh well, yes, of course, Wicked. You took over as Glinda from. I never quite understood why the poor lady got such a backlash. But Helen Dallimore played the role originally. You took over.
She was brilliant.
I thought she was fantastic, but there was so much hatred for her.
I don't know. I never quite saw hatred. I know that she had a hard time.
Yeah.
I thought she was fabulous. I loved her interpretation of it. I think the difficulty is that now with Wicked and Glinda and Alphabet, they were very, very hyped up and still are roles that were very, immortalised by Idina and Christian over on Broadway. And you bring it to England and of course, and in fact all over the world now, and there are different interpretations of it. And I would say that Helen fell foul of what many people have fallen foul of being the second person in a different country with a slightly different version of the show, which was British, and people's ears weren't attuned to it. That's all it is. And I think that's just really, really unfortunate. She did a brilliant job of translating a sort of a cheerleader into a British socialite, in my opinion.
Yes.
So
I thought she was great. And actually, Glinda's got the best song, Popular. I mean, come on.
it depends who you talk to. I love that song. I have to say, Glinda is a dream and so much fun to play. It doesn't require quite the vocal gymnastics that Alphabet has. I mean, it's there. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but Alphabet is full on. So yeah, it was a joy to play. And the costumes were amazing.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I did quite like a comedy role.
I think if you like dressing up, then Wicked is certainly the one to go to go through. If you like comedy, then the 39 Steps would have been a great one for you. And of course, there was Mamma Mia. And then I think the last time I saw you on stage was in Young Frankenstein, which I had no clue about at all. Oh my goodness me. I went on a Monday night. I have never laughed so much in all of my life.
Isn't it a fabulous piece?
It was amazing.
I made some friends for life on that show. It is just brilliant. I love it. I love Mel Brooks. I got to play, talking about the Billions, Hadley Fraser.
Yes. I
played his fiancée that he jilted in that as well. I don't take it really personally, to be frank. To be young Frank. Yes, it was so much fun. I love Elizabeth Benning. Again, speaking of dressing up, I mean, gosh, those costumes were just glorious. And, yeah, it was just great fun. Really great fun.
Well, Hadley's going to be on the programme in a couple of weeks' time, actually, on the 19th of September. So I shall have words with. In fact, I will have words.
Please, let me talk about the fact that you keep leaving.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to have words. I'm going to have words with him, Dianne, because the day we went to see it, he took the night off, and so I have to say his understudy was fantastic, and I took great delight in telling Hadley that. Yes.
It would have been Simon Gleeson.
It was.
Who played his best friend normally. Oh, do you know what? Hadley ever goes off. Yeah. That was really unfortunate.
I think he'd been tipped off I was coming to see the show. I think that's what it was. He was scared that I was going to tell him exactly what I thought. But there you go. Well, listen, you are a very busy lady. I gather booking is until May of 2022. You're spending Christmas in Leeds, is that right?
We are. Because it's a million miles away from where my parents live. They're sort of Manchester way, so it's a quick hour's drive. So that's nice.
That's Christmas dinner sorted then?
Yeah, absolutely. I've already told them that's what's happening. So everyone's delighted. But yes, Christmas in Leeds, and we're all over the place. Literally, I don't think there's any part of the country we're not touching. Is
it sort of somehow daunting at the early part of a tour, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be doing this and travelling the length and breadth of the country for the next sort of 6 to 9 months? Yeah,
a little bit. And I've not done a tour for 16 years, so it's daunting. Oh God, I remember this. Yeah, it's no point unpacking. You just leave the stuff in and watch the stuff you need. But it's more daunting because obviously I've got a school-age child, so he cannot come with me. But because of the nature of this tour and the way that they've run it, we actually get a couple of days off in between each venue, so I can get home and be with him, and he can come to me in half term. So. Yes, but it's the weekly touring schedule is brutal. It's utterly brutal, but it's worth it.
Once again, I cannot wait to see the show at the Milton Keynes Theatre, and I'll give a list of other locations that you're playing after our next piece of music. But in the meantime, Dianne Pilkington, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.